Hello, my beautiful Voidian children, and welcome back to Russian Roulette because, well, it's really freaking good. And yes, I am recording this at 1:38 a.m. because I can. Anyways, this chapter is called Beginning of the End, and with that being said, let's get started. The young prince's eyelashes fluttered open gingerly. The scent of nature overwhelmed him. Green filled his eyes. He sat beneath a tree that shaded him from the sunlight. The wind caused the tree to rustle and the grass to dance. It carried a wave of warmth that enveloped his pale white and unblemished skin. The prince's gaze was listless. He shifted in his position and felt something odd behind his back. His gaze averted to the remnants of battle that surrounded him. Scratch marks, burn marks, blood splattered a dozen crevices and holes. He lifted his head to the left side of his chest. The sound of a heartbeat pounding vibrated against his hand. "Your Highness," someone spoke. It snapped the prince out of his trance. It was a maid. She held both her hands neatly on her skirt. "Speak." His gaze remained impassive. She swallowed her words in fright. "Your father requests you to watch over the new prisoner in the dungeon until he is to be executed." Executed in a month. The prince's eyes brightened significantly like a flickered flame being reignited after a twinkle. But it was only for a split second before he returned back to his nonchalant expression. The workers here at the palace were generally quite adept at reading expressions to avoid the royal family throwing a tantrum and, in the end, directing it at them. The maid saw the expression the princess made, which made her shocked and thoroughly confused. "You're dismissed. I'll see myself to the dungeon on my own." She lifted her skirt to bow and scattered her way back to the workers' headquarters. Once the prince was certain she was gone, he leaned his head back on the tree trunk and let out a low sigh. A smile crept on his face. He then got up from his spot, revealing a hole behind where he was once sitting. It had been smashed through the tree trunk. The tree seemed like it was hanging on for dear life, just to not fall over. The stairway to the dungeon was dark. The path was illuminated by a few measly torches hung on the walls. When he reached the bottom, in front of him was a long hallway that had prison cells along it. As the prince walked, the other prisoners who were locked up in the cells all cowered in fear, hoping he'd walk past quicker. Then he got to the end of the hallway, a isolated cell with no other prisoners around it. There was someone kneeling there, chained up to the wall by their arms and legs. They had an ice-cold glare. Their body was covered in injuries. The two guards who were guarding the cells saluted the prince. "Your Highness, open the door," the prince commanded. "Your Highness, we can't do that. He's a highly dangerous criminal. He even tried to assess." The young prince snapped his head at them with a terrifying dark glare. "You dare disobey? You think I'm not strong enough to handle him?" The two guards said nothing. Anyone would know how powerful the prince is. The military's ace card, often called a human weapon, and he indeed lived up to that name. They shut their mouths and opened the cell door. "You're dismissed. Let me talk to him alone." Without another word, the two guards left the dungeon. All that's left in the end of the isolated hallway was the prince and the criminal. The young prince walked up to the criminal and squatted to look at him in the eye. All the other party gave him was a deathly chilling stare, but to his surprise, the prince smiled instead. "I'm America. What's your name?" America inquired. "Why should I answer you?" the prisoner retorted. His voice was husky, and he had an accent, no doubt not from this kingdom. "I'm not gonna do a Russian accent." Because fuck that. Y'all heard my British accent, and it's not that good. "It's all I can do. I cannot do anything else, and it still sucks." The prisoner was chained by the wall by their ankles and wrists. These chains were no ordinary chains, but ability-suppressing chains. He had horns on his head and a tail that were a shade of blue, which contrasted with his fierce amber eyes. "Well, I already know your name anyway, Russia." Russia stayed silent, only continuing to glare at the handsome prince in front of him. "I haven't seen one of your kind in a while. A dragon." The American tilted his head to the right in fascination. It was clear the dragon was starting to get more and more irritated by the prince. He then pointed out, "Your injuries are gone already, huh? From when you tried to assassinate me? Well, after we fought and you were dragged away, I sat down beneath the oak tree you punctured and used up a few minutes to heal myself." America recited the events of what happened with full honesty. The American prince placed his hand on the Russian's chin and lifted his head so the dragon's eyes would stay on him. "What a handsome criminal you are. Wanted in all kingdoms for mass murder and arson." America grinned at him while admiring his face. Russia's eyes narrowed more at the mention of this, and his eyebrows furrowed in displeasure. "Fuck off." He emphasized each word as it dripped with hatred. "I hate royals like you with every fiber of my being. You're all hypocrites." The smile on America's face didn't waver, still as bright as ever. "I see. Well, at least that's one thing we have in common." Russia paused for a moment when he said that. Then America continued, "You'll be executed in a month, but I have an offer for you. Be my private guard, and I'll make sure you won't be executed. Of course, as long as you do your job properly." America let go of his face. "Do we have a deal?" "Over not a dead body. What makes you think I'd trust you?" "Then, would you rather get your head chopped off by the kingdom in a month?" The prince raised his eyebrow. Fucking love his personality. I'm sorry. Okay. Russia shut up for a moment to think about it, but he felt that America was a prince and a royal, no doubt, and he was just a filthy dragon who happens to be a wanted criminal as well. To be honest, though, America was also a murderer because he's the military's little weapon. The Russian couldn't help but feel suspicious as well. When he fought America earlier and tried to kill him, he didn't lack skills at all, so why would he need a guard? And why him specifically? America noticed the growing suspicion on the Russian's expression. "I know you're skeptical, but if this is a trap, at least you'd prolong your life, and you get more chances to kill me. How about that? You sure you want an executioner with you all the time?" The Russian replied with a shit-eating grin on his face. America sneered in discontent. "You won't be able to kill me anyway." Russia found it annoying. He felt like America was mocking him. All he wanted to do right now was to snap the prince's neck to shut him up, but his abilities were currently suppressed. He felt weak. He hated it. In a moment of indignation, the dragon sunk his teeth into the American's arm. His teeth were somewhat sharp, so the trail of blood trickled down America's arm. America frozen in place for a while before snapping out of it and jerking his arm away. "Looks like someone's in a bad mood. Then it would be wise for you to leave this someone alone." America didn't argue with that. He rubbed the mark in his arm from the bite and grinned. "I'll see you tomorrow for your first day of work, Russia." The Russian neither confirmed nor denied it, just staying silent while glaring at the prince with piercing gaze. "Weirdo," he muttered under his breath as the door to his cell closed. As much as the Russian hated to admit it, that was the first time in quite a while that he had been called by his name. Gonna stumble over my words. I was doing good for the longest time, y'all. He didn't expect much from the prince, but to his surprise the next day America came back, this time holding another key. The American squatted down and unlocked each of the chains that bound him. Russia could feel his power flowing back through him. The first thing he did was reach his hands out to snap the prince's neck. The prince avoided it with a tilt of his head. Suddenly a dagger appeared in front of the dragon's neck. It's made out of ability-suppressing metal. Your skin won't be able to block it. Behave. Dragons have the ability to harden their skin at will. It's pretty effective for normal swords and weapons, but when it comes to ability-suppressing metal, no ability can block it. Seeing the situation, Russia scoffed and retracted his claws, an ability all dragons have, and are claws which can be retracted and extended at will. They're very sharp and can give you very nasty scars if you don't die of blood loss first. Cats. How about we get you a uniform first so you can look the part as well? Russia rolled his eyes. He knew that no matter how he protested, the prince was dead set on having him as his guard. The prince dragged the dragon to the royal tailor to get an outfit done. The tailor himself jumped in shock when he saw the dragon. The discrimination against them was still blazing strong. Racism! I'd like a uniform for him, America stated. It wasn't a request. The Russian honestly had no clue when it comes to these things, but it seemed like it was fine to leave it to America, who was already making requests. With a wave of a hand, the materials all grouped up together. The outfit seemed to create itself, but in reality, the tailor controlled all the movements. After Russia put it on, a bright grin crept up on America's face. You look good in a uniform. The tailor was even more shocked when he saw this. It's fucking uncomfortable. He pulled on one of the sleeves a few times. Then you better get used to it. America laughed and he left the room. Russia's gaze moved to the tailor, who seemed to be anxious being alone in the same room as him. The dragon narrowed his eyes and spoke in an interrogating tone. What is the prince planning? Is he usually like this? The tailor waved his hand frankly. I don't know. I really don't know. The prince usually never smiles. He's terrifying to look at. Russia huffed and left without another word. He caught up to the prince and was about to reach out and snap his neck again, but the prince already unsheathed his dagger, seemingly prepared for this. Russia clicked his tongue in annoyance and retracted his claws again. You have your horns visible, but not your tail? America raised an eyebrow. Won't they rip the clothes? It's made of a special fabric. It won't. Feel free to show your tail and wings if you want. No one will judge. You act like you hate the uniform, but you care if it's damaged or not. Another feature dragons have by birth are tails, horns, and wings, but they can choose to hide or show it. If they hide their tails, they cannot use it unless it is visible again. They can't go a long time hiding their features. Hiding them takes up energy, so they prefer to show two features or only hide one for I feel fucking retarded, but I can't read words. Give me a minute. For practicality. Russia said nothing in response, but rather a tail that wasn't there before appeared. The king wants me to go to the academy tomorrow to learn more. I'll have you tag along as a student there. The Russian narrowed his eyes in suspicion. He had never went to school due to the discrimination against dragons. Although the ban on dragons entering the kingdom had been lifted recently, surely they wouldn't accept an arsonist dragon onto a prestigious academy. I don't know if I said that right. Don't judge me. I'm retarded. Anyways, America noticed his expression. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. The ban was recently lifted, and now you guys can use the basic faculties anyway. Damn it. Just because we're not banned anymore doesn't mean we aren't discriminated against. They clearly still don't want us here. I guess that is true, but you're strong enough to defend yourself, are you not? The prince continued. In any case, we'll be leaving tomorrow morning for the academy. We'll be staying in dorms as well. Oh yeah, there's also... He stopped speaking midway, a swiftly lifted arm to block the tail that swung straight at him. The tail hit the arm with such a large force that it sent the prince flying. He smashed straight into the pillar nearby, creating a crater. The sleeve of the prince's uniform ripped on impact. The smoke cleared out after a few seconds. What Rusher saw was a bright smile on the prince's face. The impact didn't seem to affect him that much. Usually a direct hit would make people cough out blood by now. The dragon's tail swayed back to its natural resting position. What an ability you have. Offense, defense, and regeneration all in one. Go easy on me. The king already lashed me with a whip yesterday for my outrageous request of having you as a guard. America dusted off his shoulders and sleeves like nothing interesting happened. Russia furrows his brow. Why let yourself get hurt just for me to be your guard? America continued to walk next to Russia with his hands behind his back. None of your business. The Russian got a little more annoyed. What sort of logic was that? The prince was silent for a while. Say, do you want to start a revolution with me? He asked nonchalantly as they continued to walk. Ha ha, very funny. The Russian rolled his eyes and crossed his arms. I'm serious. The American turned his head to meet Russia, who was taller than him. The dragon's gaze was chilling. Don't shit with me. His tail slithered up to the shorter male's body and wrapped him firmly in place. It wrapped around tighter and tighter. Hentai. I'm sorry! I'm gonna shut up now. Why would you feel like you needed to rebel? What for? Are you deaf or dumb? Did you not get a fucking clue that I hate it here? I am only a tool to the king. Why should I keep my mouth shut? Do I not have a right to live my life? The prince's gaze was equally chilling. They both stared at each other. The tail wrapped around America slackened and eventually let go. Russia scoffed and proceeded to walk away. As he walked, he muttered one last thing. Now that is a terrifying human weapon that everyone in the kingdom knows. America stood in place, staring at the figure that slowly disappeared from his sight. And that's the terrifying dragon I know. America lifted his arms where his sleeves were ripped. There was a bite mark on his arm. I'm telling you, it's so good. And yes, they did this art. Isn't it amazing? Oh my god. And then here's Russia and his tail. They're so talented with art and writing. Like, how? It's another one of America. It's so good. So good. Oh my goodness. I just noticed the different color eyes. They say that in the story too. Oh, and it's a little ace card. Because he's the little ace for the... Oh my god. I never noticed that before. That is so clever. I love this. So... And of course, here's the original title. Anyways, now that that's done in Roulette, I love you, my beautiful one, you children. Goodbye.